Hey there YouTube. So today we're looking at The Evil Within on the Xbox One X. Released in October 2014. It's just turned 5 years old, and I thought to myself it's a perfect time to take a look back at this survival horror game and what it does best, what it doesn't do that well, and everything else that it does do. Now, what this game excels at is the gore and horror element that it has. Given that it is a child of Shinji Mikami, and if you are familiar with the name Shinji Mikami, then you will know that Shinji Mikami is regarded as a master of horror within the video game industry, and he has titles like Resident Evil under his belt, Shadows of the Damned on the Xbox 360. But yeah, this game does not shy away from gore and blood. So if that is your thing, then you definitely need to try this game, because this game has got a lot of it. What it doesn't really do too well is, in my opinion, I mean, the combat, the handling of weapons, all of that is spot on. But in my opinion, what it doesn't really do too well is within the AI of the enemies. The enemies, the majority of enemies you come across within this game are pretty much zombie-like, like any other, game where you would come across zombies. And this game does borrow elements from other games, some games such as Resident Evil 4, Dead Space, and Outlast. Now, what it borrows from Outlast is the hiding. You have an option to basically hide under beds, run away from enemies, hide in the locker, as you can see here. And the other thing that it borrows is, if you've ever played a game called Dead Space, I've also got a video of that on my channel too, you can check it out. There is a enemy in Dead Space which basically cannot be killed, only slowed down, and this game uses that idea to, I would say, pretty good effect. Now, the game basically is a survival horror, over the shoulder, third person shooter. And although this game really does excel in the horror aspect, and the some of the enemies are really well detailed and look really creepy and sound quite creepy as well, like this guy wielding the chainsaw. The things that it doesn't really do too well, as I mentioned before, is along with the common enemy that you come across with, the zombie-like enemies, your average grunts. Also, the dialogue between the main characters is quite funny, and almost seems out of place, and pretty hilarious at times too. You can sit back and listen to these guys, have a dialogue between them and just have a good chuckle. But it ruins the horror aspect of the game. The other thing which I wasn't really too keen about with this game was the actual plot. The story of the game is somewhat ridiculous, and for me it kind of ruined that horror aspect. When I first saw trailers of this game, I was stoked. I'm telling you, boy, was I stoked, and I was proper hyped for this. they released a trailer for this game, and it was like a live action trailer, and it looks sweet, boy. I'm telling you, proper sweet. But come, you know, game time, and you get to the end of the game and you're like, what the fuck actually happened? And the game within itself doesn't really do much of a good job in explaining as to what's actually going on. It is very interesting, I've got to give it that. You do, once you get into the story of this game, you really do wanna get to the end and figure out what's actually going on. But when you get to the end, you're just met with disappointment. And the reason for that is that, although I didn't know this when I actually initially first played this game, and found out later on that they were actually trying to save the explanation of the story for the DLC, basically. So you need to get the DLC in order to fully understand what's actually happening within this game. Saving progress in this game is quite unique. You approach these mirrors, you get sucked in, you get transported to this old school hospital, and you just approach the front desk and you just log your save in there.
Yes, expose everything.
Hey, what are you doing?
There's certain environments within this game, you know, certain stages, levels, or parts of the story which are quite memorable. And this part that you see right here is, as you can tell if you've ever played a Resident Evil game, is quite similar to one of the scenes in one of the first few Resident Evil games. But certain environments within this game are quite memorable, and they fit the story well. So, in a nutshell, this is a survival horror game. I would say the best way to describe it is science fiction survival horror, because it's clear that the developers were kind of going in that direction. Now, the big question is it worth buying? Is it worth going out, picking this up, playing it? I would say absolutely. Is it the best survival horror game that I've ever played? Absolutely not. But it's definitely, you know, up there with the average ones, and it's definitely up there with you know, games that are definitely worth trying out. I mean, you could probably think of 101 games that are far worse than this. Visuals are good in this game. Sound is excellent. It's spot on. Dialogue between the, you know, characters, voice acting is good, but the dialogue, you know, is shit, basically. Other than that, I would say if you can pick this up pretty cheap, it's definitely worth adding to your collection. It's definitely worth spending a few hours enjoying this. It's definitely worth checking out this game. But when you do get it, don't go into this game thinking that it's the next best survival horror game that you're ever gonna play. Just enjoy it for what it is, and hopefully you'll have a good time playing this game. I hope you enjoyed this video. Put a lot of effort into it, and hope you enjoyed it. Hope it's informative in some way. And if you did find it informative, and if you did enjoy this video, or even if you didn't, please leave it down in the comment section, and I will try to do a better job in the next video. Only joking. This is the best that I can do. Deal with it. But yeah, this is QritiQalQ signing off, and I'll see you guys in the next video. please also like, share and subscribe. And hit that bell icon. Hit that sweet bell icon. Unless you want to fall around like this guy.